At his pro-Palestinian rally in Ottawa yesterday, did you notice the Hamas flags? Yeah, just one of the many anti-Israel protests that have erupted across Canada and across the world. Here's a refresher on their mindset from a Toronto protest that happened Monday.
Is Hamas launching rockets into Israel right now?
No, that's lies.
I definitely 100% support Hamas for not accepting that ceasefire.
I'm so shameful to be called a Canadian and be in Canada.
Right. Well, let's not forget the violence that erupted at a pro-Palestinian rally in Calgary late last week. As Israel continues defending itself from terrorist fire, a couple of things have become very clear. The world is very selective with the bloodshed it gets behind. ISIS, as you know, is slaughtering its way to an Islamic State. No outrage, no protests, no international condemnation. Boko Haram is also slaughtering innocent men, women, and children in the tens of thousands, and yet the silence is deafening. Yet a growing chorus of voices call the Israeli-Hamas conflict genocide. Really? Let's talk about genocide, which both of the previous uncontested groups are carrying out right now. The following are real cases of genocide. The 1991 Algerian War, where 150,000 Muslims were killed. 20 years later, during its Arab Spring in 2011, another 174,000 Muslims were killed. Syria, 2011. 250,000 more dead Muslims. None of these people have been killed by Israel. And none spark outrage, as folks just accept it as the price paid fighting for freedom. When it comes to Israel trying to save itself from terrorists, whose charter openly states 12 times the eradication of Jews, the world erupts into hate. Synagogues are attacked, and anti-Semitism bubbles to the surface. One thing this conflict has exposed is the growing hate for the Middle East's only democracy. Let's welcome Douglas Murray, who joins us this morning in London. You, of course, are the author of several books, including Islamophobia. Good to have you with us.
Good to have you. Good to be with you. It's Islamophilia, if I can.
My apologies.
Correct you there.
My apologies, of course.
Sorry.
Douglas, let's talk a little bit about what I said in the monologue. Is there truth to what I speak?
Absolutely. You got it bang on. I mean, this is the strangest situation we have going on in our time. In Syria and Iraq, ISIS and ISIS-like groups are carrying out not just purges, but an ethnic cleansing, a cultural, religious cleansing of the region, chasing the Christians that remain in Mosul in recent hours, telling them, first of all, they can either convert to Islam, live as second-class citizens, or die, and then just in recent hours taking away the second of those two options. So now it's just convert or die. So that's what's going on. But the world seems to have turned away from Syria, turned away from Iraq, they've turned away from Nigeria. What happened to bring back our girls? It was a hashtag, a quick protest, a registering of a little cultural annoyance, and then just move on, forget about it. That's the world's attitude to absolutely everything at the moment, with one exception, and that's Israel. And if you look at the latest round of this conflict that has been going on over the last couple of weeks, the ire and the focus of the world once again comes down on Israel. And it's very hard to interpret that by anything other than the most base motives.
You know, Douglas, when Israel gets into conflict, I mean, Israel in particular, anytime seems to evoke emotion. I mean, Jews have gotten used to being blamed for just about everything. But have you seen the animosity to the levels that we are seeing right now? Because, I mean, there are things trending like Hitler was right, it killed Jews. These are now becoming part of social media language.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the most interesting parts of this phenomenon in recent years has been, as Israel's wars of necessity in the region have continued, however small the engagement, and relatively small it is, and after all, what we've been seeing in recent days is far smaller than, for instance, the 2006 conflict in southern Lebanon. But each time the conflict, however large or small it is, one thing you can tell these days is that the level of protest, outrage, opposition in the Western democracies grows exponentially. And there are, I think, very clear reasons for that. It's something that very few people want to put their finger on, but it remains the fact in the city I'm sitting in London, in Paris and elsewhere, this is not actually by and large ordinary, middle class or working class, British or French citizens. These are, as it happens, in very large numbers, Muslim citizens of these countries who are claiming that they are outraged about the alleged murder of their fellow Muslims. And this is astonishing. Not just because, in fact, the number of people killed in the Gaza in these incredibly targeted campaigns of recent days are what Bashar al-Assad's forces get through in a couple of hours in Syria, going on all the time. The outrage is focused because it's a Jewish state and because most of these people, I would contend, they say, oh, I support the Jewish state's right to exist. Some of them say that. Most of them, or many of them, don't even have the decency to do that. But they say this kind of thing. But actually, if you don't believe that Israel has the right to stop a group that has professed repeatedly since its foundation that it wants to annihilate Israel, if you believe that Israel doesn't have the right, in the most targeted manner and in the most humane way possible, to try to stop this enemy, then of course you don't believe in Israel's right to exist. You believe in Israel's right to die.
Sure. Look, here in Canada, we had a protest yesterday in Ottawa. They were trying to rally the government to go against Israel. It was a pro-Palestinian march. As a Canadian, I was deeply offended to see Hamas flags. Look, you have the right to protest in this country. I absolutely agree with it. But I am offended, and I think a lot of Canadians should be offended to see a Hamas flag at this rally. I look at my grandfather, who spent 6 years at war and went to Normandy, and I know that he did not put his life on the line to fight, to have terrorist flags flying in our country. And I don't know if it's just ignorance and uneducated people backing it, but a lot of people that I spoke to yesterday literally believe Israel is committing genocide, which is almost laughable. But nonetheless, they're willing to back Hamas, and I don't understand it in this country.
It's astonishing. I mean, first of all, there are, of course, a lot of very ignorant people. A lot of people who simply go on Twitter, read some propaganda lies from Hamas and Hamasniks and think that is indeed going on. There are a lot of ignorant people. There are, however, also people who are simply out-and-out supporters of Hamas. These are the Nazis of our time. The amazing thing is that in democracies at the moment, we don't even have to fight these Nazis. We just have to say in civil society what they are, identify them, identify their motives, explain their motives. If people don't notice the similarities here, they don't have to see the footage of French Jews locked in a synagogue by a mob of raging Muslim French barbarians. They don't need to see that to know what this is. This is the same type of enemy going against the same people. It is extremely clear. And, when you see these sort of Trustafarian, spoiled sort of middle-class college kids who think actually in a war between the democracy of Israel and Hamas, it's a bit difficult to choose or something. These are people who know too little for their own good. And, it's not difficult. The facts are out there. The facts are in the Charter. The facts are in what Hamas is doing and has done every day of its existence.
Well, clearly they don't like the facts. They get in the way of a good story. Douglas, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.